these were like the rock stars of the time. This was poetry you weren't supposed to read. This basically looked at nature and it said that our relationship with nature is not going well.
Even back then.
Well, this is it, right? Because Shelley saw it. This was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, or around the Industrial Revolution. And that's what Frankenstein's about. It's about creating our monsters.
Just Drew.
Hello, Just Drew listeners. We are back yet again with another episode. Thank you for tuning in, as always. Today's guest is Mac Buchwald. Mac is a teacher, amateur actor, although I disagree with the amateur part, musician, and overall film, literature, and pop culture nerd. A lifetime Norfolk County resident, he describes the community that he grew up in as a hidden haven for artistic minds and voices. Instead of spending extracurricular time in hockey barns, Mac spent his youth learning the theater arts at places such as the Waterford Old Town Hall and the Simcoe Little Theater. He's developed talents that he's most recently shared in community hits such as Lighthouse Festival's The Producers and the Simcoe Little Theater's Little Shop of Horrors, which is where I was first introduced to Mac. Mac has recently returned to Norfolk County after studying literature and education at Western University in London, Ontario. While at school, he fell in love with literature after encountering works from authors such as Mary Shelley, William Faulkner, Toni Morrison, and John Keats. Now back home and recently hired as a contract teacher, Mac is energized to share his love for learning in a community that fostered his own independent thinking. Mac believes that the only way to understand the world is to work to understand the voices in it, especially those that might feel unfamiliar or whose words uncomfortable. Here is Mac Buchwald.
Hey you, you're listening to Just Drew. Just Drew. Just Drew.
Okay, we'll dive into some history stuff.
I promise you, I'm like, that's my autism, is like knowing random quotes,
Random
and
things.
dates. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to go, well, we ran into each other at trivia.
Yep.
And I feel like that's where my mind is best suited because it's like I can't apply all this random knowledge anywhere else. Trivia is the spot.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
It's my space.
Where else can you apply random knowledge? Like nowhere else.
No.
A podcast maybe.
Right.
And trivia. That's
right.
essentially it.
Yeah. Where else can you talk about like 16th century literature than trivia at Wishbone?
A podcast.
Right, a podcast.
Yeah. Or maybe like a lecture.
A lecture,
or something like that.
Yeah, which is kind of, it's not a podcast.
It's a podcast without mics.
Right.
Yeah. And, well, there are podcasts where there's just one person talking.
Hopefully you have an active listener base in a podcast more than you do while giving a lecture.
That's a goal.
Right.
Although, I mean, what's the biggest lecture you've ever been in?
That I've been in or given?
Or being a part of?
Well, so my classes were quite small with university. They were like, which was great. Like my first year classes, which are generally your largest, were probably like 300. So I went to King's at Western, which is like their smaller affiliate campus.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, but when I TA'd, that was with the large English first year classes, and those were like 600.
Okay, I was going to say, I went to York, and there were, I feel like it's upwards of 6.
Yeah.
6. Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. I'm like, and the teacher just goes on, right? There's no really time to ask her any questions, because boom, 100 hands go up.
Yeah, that's not that space. How it worked was, so I was a TA. Mm-hmm. So that was when I was doing my master's of English, and I was a TA. And so the lectures were about 50 minutes, and it was like on the dot. And this guy was like a rock star. That he was really cool,
Unique charisma.
You
do.
He was that really cool English prof,
People.
He had a nice coif to his hair.
Okay.
Okay. Like he was a really cool guy, and he lectured well. Like it was, eyes were on him the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And he did some crowd work, I guess you could call it, where he would ask questions, but it was never substantive or long form. Those were for the times where I had the students. So I had about a group of 30 students during tutorials, Whereas
Okay.
where we would dive into the week's material and we do it in that more, okay, I don't understand this, let's talk about it kind of way.
I took a course in Greek mythology and Roman history.
Hell yeah.
And so big, huge lecture, and then once a week we go with the TA, and then we would break like the Odyssey down in
Yeah.
bit by bit.
Yeah.
That was a while ago, so I have some of it. Some of it's still there. And I studied the Odyssey, and it was amazing. And I grew up reading Percy Jackson and the Lightning,
So
like
good.
that
Me
whole
too.
series.
Yeah.
And so I needed an elective, and I was like, I'm gonna take this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was the most intense course. It was more intense than what I was actually going there for.
And what were you going for?
Film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was like a humanities arts course.
Yeah.
I think people don't understand how difficult those courses are.
So it was the biggest workload
Yeah.
that I had, hands down.
Yeah.
And like closed book tests on the Odyssey. So it's like they give you
And written.
Yeah.
Like I have like bumps on my hands from like the 20-page written
Yeah.
exams I'd be writing.
Yeah. And they give you like a quote, and it's like, okay, tell me about this scene or something, or what's the meaning behind this? And off to the races.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
It's like pretty rare if you finish it too.
So I was going for criminology and English is what it became. It was originally criminology because I was thinking originally had interest. Like, I mean, I've tried to steer my career trajectory to become Batman eventually. I'm still holding out for it, but the closest that I could get at the time was thinking about policing, which was very, very interesting to me at the time.
I have a diploma in that.
Yeah.
Policing,
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's fascinating stuff. So I took criminology, and so looking at analyzing crime in a different way. Like I went there thinking it was going to be all like Criminal Minds and stuff, and it's a lot, when you study criminology, it's a lot more, which I mean makes sense, is about the crime that actually happens. It's generally not the Hannibal Lecter
or Mindhunter.
Right. Yeah. It's more mundane, which is stuff that we need to look at. But I did find that, so it started with thinking policing. Then I'm thinking, okay, what's the ticket to the middle class? Okay, we'll go for that law degree. Let's do that. And so started criminology, and on a whim, I took a first year English course, and throughout all of the criminology I took, I was never more challenged than I was doing those humanities, doing those English courses than I was versus like the more like sociology.
What made you want to take it?
I think I did well. Like I was kind of like, I think some people might disagree with this, but I feel I was a bit of a coaster in high school. I liked video games, I like doing that.
Yeah.
And I did the things, and I would get okay. Like I got Ace, but I was never into the 90s. I was always sitting around like 77, around there, which, there's nothing wrong with that. And I wouldn't even say that I really excelled in English classes. But I was looking for another course, and I took this course called Forms of Fiction, and it was so dry. But I loved it. Was the strange thing. It was this classic professor. He'd get up there and he'd write like a list of 20 terms on the board, and I had no idea what was going on. It's like me coming from Norfolk County, going to the university for the first time. I had no idea you had to like read the whole book before a lecture. I was like, so when are we reading this book together?
Is it
and
nice,
he's like,
nice little read along?
Yeah, when's the read along portion of looking at the Odyssey? And it's like, no, you should have read it before the first day. Like, oh, okay. So he was very classic in his way of teaching, but so I took it because it was I needed another course, and I'm like, yeah, English was okay. I liked it. Let's explore, and so we started looking at it, and then we got to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and my world was blown.
That was the only author. Obviously, Frankenstein's a very famous book that I recognize out of the four, but that was sort of your first introduction. Yeah,
well, that was where I realized, okay, studying English is kind of studying everything. It's a discipline where, like you mentioned, is like, oh, you like history and stuff like that. It's like you kind of have to, in order to study literature, and it makes sense, right? Is because literature is born out of context, and so in order to understand those texts, you need to understand context. You need to understand legal systems, like in criminology was helpful. You need to understand history, right? You need to understand sociology, psychology, all of these things. And Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a text that blew my mind because my understanding of it, I'm a big movie film guy. My understanding was the Boris Karloff, Frankenstein. That's Frankenstein, which is Frankenstein's monster. It's a designation there. There's Victor Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, the creator.
Right.
And then the monster.
And the monster.
But everybody refers to the monster as Frankenstein.
Exactly. And because you have that, right? In the Halloween sections of things, you have Frankenstein's monster. But then you read the text and you get to a point where it's a philosophical argument between the monster and the creator about being born. But what does it mean to be someone's monster? What are our monsters in life? And I'm like, wow.
English ain't so boring.
It's not so boring. No.
They should call it something else.
They should. English
is just like, I'm learning English.
The fun, interesting philosophy, mind-blowing class where you look at books sometimes.
Yeah.
It was this moment where it definitely changed my life. Reading through Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, because it's also this flashpoint of literature as well. It's referred to as the first science fiction text.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When was it written?
There's many different versions. The original version comes out 1813, I believe. Fact check me.
Yeah.
1813.
Wait.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. That's a clicking.
There's your clicking.
I love that.
You're welcome.
The original version gets published 1813, I believe.
That's so.
But there's like five. Ago. Yeah, there's 5 versions.
So that'd be like
1818.
1818.
First published on January 1st, 1818.
So the English is very different as well.
Yeah, well, a lot of people refer to that, like especially Shakespeare's and this is my this again, I'm gonna get nerdy, but like a lot of people refer to that as Old English. It's not. It is modern English. Old English actually refers to like the 1100s.
Well, Shakespeare would be Old English, no?
No.
No, what era was Shakespeare?
That's actually referred to as the common or the modern era. In terms of Shakespeare's 1580s to like 1620s, in Elizabeth to King James.
Yes.
Like when I was in school reading Shakespeare, I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah.
This sounds like another language.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I'm like, okay, it's poetry.
Yeah.
And then you get a better grasp of it. But as like a 16-year-old kid, I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole point, right? About how hard it is studying literature is because it's so contextual, right? And that's also not to say that people spoke like that, right? There's a more elevated. The people who were writing books were people who went to something called grammar school, right? Which is our school systems are set up kind of not haphazardly, but like in a way that it's kind of a catch-all.
It's broad.
And so there was something you went to called grammar school where you actually learned the specifics of grammar.
I think I may need to go there.
I'm an English teacher and it's it might, it's all right, but we don't study it the same way that people did before. So the people that you're hearing write books, especially Mary Shelley, are coming from very highly educated homes. Her 2 parents were, this is just going to become the Mary Shelley podcast. I'm sorry. But cool. Her 2 parents are foundational. When I refer to Frankenstein as a flashpoint of fiction, it's because her mother is someone named Mary Wollstonecraft, who writes basically the first feminist text called A Vindication for the Rights of Women. And her father is someone named William Godwin, who is a massive art critic, who writes is a novelist himself, a poet or a novelist himself. But he's more known as an art critic, and particularly criticizing a book called Paradise Lost. And so Shelley is incredibly educated, and she comes from a legacy of thinkers. And her contribution becomes this first science fiction test. It becomes that the people she's hanging around with. So her husband, so where you get Shelley, her name was actually Mary, I think it was Godwin then, and her maiden name, but then becomes Shelley because she marries someone named Percy Bysshe Shelley, a famous poet of the time. There was William Blake, and there was Percy Bysshe Shelley, William Wordsworth. These were like the rock stars of the time. This was poetry you weren't supposed to read. This basically looked at nature and it said that our relationship with nature is not going well.
Even back then.
Well, this is it, right? Because Shelley saw it. This was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, or around the Industrial Revolution, and that's what Frankenstein's about. It's about creating our monsters. Frankenstein's monster is a lot of people see it as symbolizing the monster of the Industrial Revolution. Think about it. He's this mismatched body part thing filled with bolts and electricity, right? So what's going on there is this conflict between progress, making things because we can, and the question of should we make these things, right? Should we do these things? It's
just
like,
because you can.
should we?
Should you?
The Oppenheimer question too, right?
Yeah, same with AI, I would say.
Same with
Nowadays,
AI.
that's sort of our modern day Oppenheimer
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
No, we
We're
love
running
Chad
into.
though, don't we?
I'm a frequenter of,
Yeah,
of
why
ChatGPT.
do we
Yeah.
need why do we need authors? We just have
Right,
ChatGPT.
right. I think that brings me, to my central question of what I'm coming at the world right now, because again, I think we're in another flashpoint. And what I mean by that, right, is there's so many things and events and context converging on this moment, and we have a couple directions of where we might be able to go. And Shelley faced the same context, right? Is she said, look what we're doing to the natural world, right? It's all about, so Victor, and his name is ironic, right? Because his name is Victor, the winner, right? He loses entirely throughout that entire book, but it's Victor trying to beat death is the point of why he starts creating his creature. His mother dies at a young age in childbirth, and he becomes obsessed with defying death, right? Which is the kind of masculine urge of the time. Is the development of technology, right? Creating things. How can we create things to defy nature? It's us versus nature. And the book really shows the consequences of that, right? Of the unintended Frankenstein, or the creature, sorry, is often referred to as a daemon, Daemon.
Okay.
Is Frankenstein's demon, his beast that he's made. And in a lot of ways right now we're in a very similar flashpoint with AI technology. It's the biggest kind of issue when we talk about.
And it is a bit of a Frankenstein. It's pulling from all corners of humanity.
Yeah.
All across the internet.
Yeah. Yeah. And the question, and I think a lot of people feel this question, is that to metaphorize a little bit, Victor Frankenstein toils for months and months. He goes off to school and he goes into these like necromancy, dark arts, and he's like, I want to use these things that are taboo and create and defy death, right? So he does that. He goes grave robbing, right? That's how the creature is made. He finds the perfect tools, parts, pieces it together. But when the lightning bolt strikes, when he's able to harness electricity, this power of life, and give life to this creature, he's repulsed by it. Not by the body parts, which you would expect, right? It's like he's grave robbing. These are rotting flesh pieces. Yeah. It's when he looks into the creature's eyes and he notices something that he didn't create. There's an orange glow that's alien to him. It's something that he doesn't have control over. He was creating this thing to control death, to make life on his own terms, right? Not on like our use of ChatGPT as a tool. But the flashpoint becomes, when does AI's eyes glow? When do they glow in a way we don't recognize?
Yeah.
And can we stop that?
Spooky.
Yeah.
Probably not. I don't know.
Or steered in a way. Yeah, I don't know if I want to dive into that. I actually watched it was a 30-minute documentary about it, and there's all these scientists that they call it the 2027 project.
I watched, I think, the same video.
Okay,
yeah,
so you watched that?
Yeah.
About how, it could go this way, but if we do it, it could go this way. Yeah. And it's in a pivotal moment now. Like 2027, that's 2 years from now. Yeah. A year and a half.
I didn't watch it. What's going to happen? Tell me what's going to happen.
Nothing good.
Nothing good.
Well, that's an interesting video. What I do understand of those estimates, here's the scary thing, is that those estimates, that's probably a liberal estimate.
Yes.
However, they're not saying, the experts who are talking about it are saying that it's not that the things that they talk about won't happen. It's that when they will happen. And it's probably going to be into the 2030s.
When, and can you control it at all?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because you are creating. David Bowie described the internet as an alien life form. Very interestingly, in the sense that we don't understand how this thing will, you know, interact with us. You know, that's the whole idea of something alien, right? As us humans, we're not too good with change, with something coming and blowing our minds, right? And if the internet is an alien life form, you know, AI is on the God plane of our able to comprehend it.
To summarize that YouTube channel or that video, it's essentially AI is going to get to a point where it can just make a better version of itself, and then that better version will make a better, and then it just compounds until you get to what? A god?
It also talks about language, right? It's like how we've developed AI is that it communicates in English. But it'll get to a point, and they say this is the pivotal point, where in order to make it more efficient, it would actually be useful to let it develop its own language. But
what?
But yeah,
but
yeah.
then you can't monitor it.
No.
Yeah.
And even now it's being deceptive. So if its motivation is to just continue on growing, and if humans are going to stop that because they need to sort of monitor it, it'll deceive purposely.
Yeah, I've heard of like stories about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like the whole hallucination thing with ChatGPT. It's like if it can't find the answer, it will just give you an answer because it's programmed to give you an answer.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't know it, what does it do? So it just comes up with
Lies.
something,
This-
which is what they refer to as a hallucination. But
This is also the really interesting thing too about where AI is going, and it's like, I think it's a great tool. I
sure.
think, and it's like you know, the wrong approach is to believe that we can put the genie back in the bottle. You know, we're here, so you swim with the current or you drown, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of putting up guidelines and trying to traverse it in a smart way, and not in a rushed way. And that's the whole issue, is because there's other foreign entities creating the same type of thing, and they just want to be ahead, so they want to push.
It's the arms race, but it's also understanding that it is a tool being developed by interested actors, right? It's like, it's not just the internet is the idea of our own personal, like when it develops, right? Is as far as I understand, is that it's our personal devices and our personal kind of online or computer personalities interacting with everybody else. Like Twitter doesn't create content. Well, I guess we're going into a spot now where you know, companies are creating content, but like social media companies don't create content. It's user generated content. But what's different with AI is that it is creating content in a different kind of way. And what's interesting is that it's creating content off of learning, right? And have you ever heard of the okay, this is gonna, even if your mind wasn't already like, we're so done, here we go.
Oh fuck.
The dead internet theory.
Oh,
have you heard of this?
I've heard of it, but I haven't dove into it.
Well, it's not even really a theory. It's just here. So experts estimate that now, so in 2025, about 95% of content generated on the internet is AI generated.
bots.
Yeah, bots or text, right? Like just the amount of text that ChatGPT can generate and put it online. Bots for sure, but 95% of what is being generated and put out there is an AI model, which is already like.
Well, and that was the whole concern with elections, right?
Yeah.
And troll farms. You're familiar with troll farms.
Yeah.
And it's just influencing people with just bots.
Yeah. That's a part. But the other part that freaks me out, or I think the thing we need to look at, is how AI actually gets developed. And it's based on learning, right? So what it's done to get to become this 95% parking space of the internet is that it's learned that much of the internet, right? It gets better by learning and by studying content and learning from it, right? But what happens when it runs out of content? Right? Have you ever seen those things that they do where you give ChatGPT or you give an image generator a picture and you say, give me the same picture, and you asked it to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it.
The picture slowly changes. It's like a white Caucasian girl. It like slowly just changes like an Asian girl, and then to like a
AI companies are at a place right now where they've run out of things to study. And so ChatGPT is at a point where it's studying itself.
That's weird.
And then what does it give you? Right? And then what you're going to be seeing is I'm getting so conspiratorial. It's actually just not. You're going to see it. What you're going to see is you're going to see devices come out that are real world devices that you wear, kind of like an Apple Watch, where the pitch will be wear this thing and use this thing, and then if you wanted efficiency to be even more heightened, it'll listen to your daily interactions and it'll help you generate those lists. You had the conversation with this person. You should do this. You should, right? And it'll be pitched as. And they're already out there. The prototypes for these things, they're already being sold.
Like they're breaking laws with that.
Well, this is the thing, right? Is because what it becomes is this organizational tool for your daily life. What it actually becomes is another information point where it can take other conversations from the real world of people who aren't consenting, right?
Yeah.
To be listened to, all of this new source of information in order to data farming, right? But real world data farming.
Real world data farming.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Well, who's to say they're not doing that with the phones already?
Well,
they are doing that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they already do it with Word documents. There's like new features on Word documents that they're like you can turn it off, but they're basically because it's all cloud synced.
You
right?
can turn it off, but no one turns it on.
Yeah,
it's like
it's there where it takes all of the content you write and then it sends it to their in-house AI generators to study. What a cheery note.
Well, and
I've started this podcast on.
Even my medium, which is film and photography, just with Google VO.
Yeah.
The third version coming out. I'm like, I don't know what this means. It's going to disrupt so much. It'll eventually come to a point where a writer director can prompt an entire movie.
Yeah.
Without the use of crew, locations, anything. Because if they can just prompt it.
I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if like societally we will come to a point where it'll become like taboo, or it'll be like frowned upon.
Well, that's that whole if
to
you're
like use kind of that kind of stuff. Like people.
If you're a fan of Dune.
Yes.
I didn't watch
that. Is that concept.
Yeah.
Essentially, AI is banned in that universe.
Okay. Yeah.
They created it. It was a problem. They had a war with it. They won.
Oh shit!
They called the thinking machines.
Yeah, they called it the thinking machines.
Yeah.
And then now it's like banned.
Okay.
That's why they use swords and stuff
Yes.
in the Dune universe. That's why why Dune? Why it's so important? We're going. All
I'm
in,
reading
dude.
Dune.
So good.
The fifth one right now.
Oh yeah,
Fifth novel.
As an aside, my 98. I love my great grandmother. Okay, 98 years old. She's reading through the Dune books.
Oh, that's sick. For the first time.
Yeah, for the first time. Yeah. But yeah, that's why spice on this planet Arrakis is so important, because it gives you kind of like prescience to see into the future, to be able to space travel. That's why it's so important.
Oh, what the?
See where stars are.
I gotta watch.
So you don't crash in. So good. The Denny Villeneuve one.
Because they can't use a computer because it's banned.
Yeah.
And then they have like people called mentats who are like human computers, so they are able to essentially calculate up to the capacity of a computer, but they're still human. And that's kind of their way to get around the computation of using a computer.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting universe.
Sounds really neat.
Yeah. I got into it. A friend of mine recommended it before the films came out. And so I read the first two and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm like a Halo fan. I come from the Halo gaming universe and it's not such a far stretch. But I almost have fallen in love with Dune more than any other.
Well, there's a debate, right? So, like, the interesting thing is, like, you have these massive built worlds. Also comes out in, like, okay, fact check me on this. I think 1964.
Dune?
I believe.
I think he started writing in the 50s.
Yeah. It's right around the same time as, like, Philip K. Dick, who did Android's Dream of Electric Sheep.
Yeah.
Fantastic book. He's writing in the 50s.
But he didn't get it. It didn't explode in popularity until, I want to say, much later.
1965 is when the first one was published.
Yeah.
And he's talking about
computers being outlawed.
Exactly.
Whoa,
yes.
fuck.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Well, because we like to think we're so far away from that in terms of our tech, right? Like we can't even get rockets to go back up there, you know? Like we've gotten to the moon, that's about it. But so like in terms of our cultural imaginations, it's not far away from what people were talking about in the 1960s, especially these really important thinkers.
The concept was there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely alarming to me, but yet I use it every day.
Well, so like I use this term flashpoint, right? And what I'm a big believer in, because I'm an English teacher, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's my career, that is where I think we need to do is understand the power of stories in our lives and how stories guide everything. And also understand that we need to be consciously telling our stories, not giving that away. Because that's a big problem, is that, the studies are coming out right now that students who religiously use ChatGPT are using those critical faculties of their critical decision making. It's just not developing.
Yeah. It's like a copy paste type of mindset.
Yeah.
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 And no critical application.
Yeah. Because I think the wrong attitude is that people don't have things to say, and that's the problem. I think that people have so much to say. If there's so many stories out there.
Well, that's the whole, I get people joke about me having a podcast. They're like, "Oh, great, just another podcast." And I'm like, I'm not offended by that, because you're right. There are millions of podcasts. I gotta remove this cat.
But what did we just accomplish?
Oh, we hit. What did we hit today? 2,500 streams today.
Cooper does not want to celebrate.
Cooper's like, get talking about Dune again. This is a Dune podcast.
Yeah, Cooper's like, you had that many podcasts and I wasn't on enough of them.
Yeah.
Put me on right now.
That's it.
It's gonna sit like this.
Oh, he is hunting you right now.
He is. Like, ears are back.
Yeah. Oh, you won.
I had a cat. My grandmother's cat. When I stayed with them during university, his name is Lucas. Because their last name is two names. Their last name is Lucas, and he came with the name Lucas, and they felt bad about changing. Which I don't think that's the wrong thing. Changing a pet's name, you get one, and then who knows. But
I think you can do what you want.
This is true. You can probably do what you want. But Lucas was a biter, or is a biter. Yeah, he would open doors too.
He's a little mischievous.
Yeah.
He's a Bengal. He's loud. He's noisy. He's also a boy. He gets into mischief. He breaks things.
Yeah.
Bites me. He'll only bite me
Whiskey.
though. Won't
Likes
ever
whiskey.
bite. He likes whiskey. Yeah. Shunned Drew for like a month though, because he brought a kitten over one time.
Yeah, I had kittens and Drew wanted one, and I brought it over, and Cooper's like, for the next month, he's like, fuck this guy that brought
wanted
that
nothing
cat.
to do with him.
Was so mad at me.
I can see that. I can see that. The jealousy.
Yeah.
All right, he's minding his own business. Sorry, we were going to telling stories and stuff. And we need to continue doing that. It's very human, and we've been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years, orally, and then written, and then musically, and then into cinema and poetry and theater. And
100%. Well, I think that is where, like, music especially, that's the role that poets had in society. I don't know if poets occupy the same space. Well, they don't, but because like I said, right, like in the Romantic period in the 1800s, those were the rock stars. Those are the people who you weren't allowed to talk about. Were the people writing romantic poetry, right? Now we have it as popular music, right? I think that's where massive amounts of the music of life, I think, which is poetry, the imagery of life is coming out of is music rather than poets.
What do you think about that concept? I think it's a Bare Naked Lady song as well, but every song has been written.
Oh yeah, everything's derivative, but I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
I 100% agree. Everything is derivative. I mean, let's get psychological. There's a guy named Carl Jung. Familiar?
I've heard of him.
Yep.
Yeah. So believed in this idea of archetypes and believed that we are psychologically wired to understand certain concepts like mother, father, are big ones, right? But it's basically this idea that there is this collective consciousness we share. This idea that there's going to be topics that everybody will have some kind of emotional resonance with, and I think that's the case, right? So we started talking about Greek myths, right? The Odyssey. The Odyssey is a story that will continue as long as there are people writing stories to have resonance and have impact on those stories. Mm-hmm. Like if you want to map out, stories, they're all going to be kind of talking about the same things.
Mm-hmm. There's structure, especially in scripts and stuff, and the big ones like the hero's journey. That's sort of what Marvel follows, and even Chef's Table for that matter. If you're a fan of Chef's Table, it follows the hero's journey like to a T.
Yeah,
to a T.
Yeah. they follow them. So, but that's not to say that it's a bad thing, that it's quote unquote unoriginal, because it's fashioning new ways to say things.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying the same things, but the poets of the modern era, Ezra Pound, described it as make it new. There's ways to take the raw materials and shape them into new forms.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I listen, I don't know who the guy was on a podcast, but he was talking about how just the generation gap between him and his son and the original Star Wars to the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
And just he was relating it to, the reason why this movie is like this is because this is what was happening during my time.
Yeah.
And now the movies are like this, same concept, same universe, but they're different because that is what's happening now. And it has influence on, what's being written and how it's being filmed, and pop culture seeps in there, politics seep in there. It's almost like time traveling a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's it. That's what I was talking about in terms of the context idea of it. Because there's basically two strings of thought when it comes to artistic interpretation. There's this idea that you should be able to take a piece of artwork and interpret it in a vacuum. That you should be able to, regardless of context and your ability to be in that context, you should be able to pick up a book, a movie, whatever, and get something from it. But then there's this other perspective that says that context is necessarily important, right? That we need to understand what's happening. So, like, for an example, we're in this point, right, where superhero movies are kind of like our version of Greek heroes. The superhero, they kind of take up that space the same way that they would talk about Odysseus, the same way they would talk about Zeus, is the same way we talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah, demigods.
And Batman. Yeah. And so you have two radically different versions of Superman that are out there, right? You have the Zack Snyder, Henry Cavill, and you have the brand new one that came out. What is that saying about when that movie came out versus when this movie came out? That they look so different. Some people say it's like that comes more closer to like the Iraq War era, where the idea of the anti-hero became really popular. Blade was super popular, right?
Yep.
Where you need to toughen up, where you need to be a soldier, right? And so we're in this part now where I think people are realizing the consequences of that soldiering attitude and wanting some more symbol of cheesy hope. But you definitely art is responsive, and to say like, oh, I want my art to be apolitical, you're not understanding art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I listen to a lot of stand-up as well.
Yeah.
And it's just them poking fun at things you can't poke fun of.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
Yeah.
To have those people.
Comedy's transgressive, and it should be.
Yeah.
That's why, like in Shakespeare, right, you always have the most enlightened, wise person in the tragedies, the Shakespearean tragedies, are the court jesters, the fools,
because they can see it.
Yeah. They're able to laugh at life and understand a little bit more. I'm a big fan of another writer by the name of Franz Kafka. Franz Kafka wrote a book that's The Metamorphosis, where this man, Gregor Samsa, he's an accountant in the 20s era Germany, and which is a very Austria, sorry. But I mean, it's a very politically fraught time, right? This is like the era of the bureaucrat becoming a thing, or the pencil pusher, and Franz Kafka, Gregor Samsa awakes the one morning to discover that he is transformed into a ginormous cockroach. But the funny thing is that he's more concerned about being late for work.
Well, he's got more hands now.
He's got more hands. He can push more pencils. He can be a better accountant, and he wants to get there and do it. And he can't because he's stuck in his back because he's a large cockroach. And Kafka's whole point is he described literature as the ice pick to the frozen human soul. Good literature. It should challenge you. It should be something you fight against. It shouldn't feel comfortable as you're consuming good literature or good art. And he said that they call it the Kafkaesque, or the absurdism, right? Is the idea that, these narratives we tell ourselves about how life is supposed to work are actually just really funny. And that all we can do is really laugh at it.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially I was talking about how I had a house fire and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like, obviously it's traumatic and
Right.
when it's happening, but afterwards you're like, yeah, I don't know. And then people forget. They're like, hey, do you still have that thing? I'm like, no, I don't. It's gone. They're like, oh yeah. And then we laugh about it.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
In a similar vein, I really like, do you listen to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend?
Occasionally.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So he had Bill Hader on, and Bill Hader's talking about losing his house in the house fire. And Conan's like, yeah, it was a really tough time for me too. I didn't lose my house, but I was stuck out of it. And there was a particular sea salt I really, really liked that I couldn't get. And it just broke the tension. It was beautiful. It was this beautiful moment.
Yeah, but I like Conan is one of the greatest comedians, writers of all time. But
Yes.
he's also he's making light of it for Bill as well, which definitely helps him. But at the same time, he's kind of poking fun at modern culture.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Like, it's very nuanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, his one-liner jabs are on another
So
level.
good.
Yeah,
So good.
Very sad his show is over, but
I know. But the podcast is great, and he has a good travel show now. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm happy that he's a guy that continues to evolve. But yeah, no, comedy and we're in this interesting part, right? Where we culturally we're in a place into the 2016s, and I think as a response to Trump, where we get into this kind of like sensitivity culture, where it makes comedy taboo. And there's a lot of things out there that call it, I think that a lot of people use that excuse. Oh, I'm just making jokes. And it's like, no, you're not. Nobody's laughing. And yeah, jokes transform, and there's things that were jokes that killed in the 80s that aren't going to kill now. But I think there is this kind of intention behind comedy. Is it being done in a way that everybody can participate, or is it being done in a way that only some people can participate?
yeah. I mean, for a lot of comics, they are, in particular, picking on one particular culture at times.
Right.
But it's all in good. Like, a good example is, you familiar with Andrew Schultz?
Yeah.
So he was actually making fun of Canadian cuisine.
Right.
And I was like, this is hilarious to me. I'm Canadian. I'm not offended by it.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware we're just like a combination of many cuisines. We don't have our own cuisine.
No.
What, poutine maybe at tops? But like, I don't know how far I should take this. His jokes are kind of dark.
Take it far.
Yeah,
He was equating back bacon to anal sex.
Okay.
Please go on.
He's
Please
like,
explain.
it ain't bacon,
Right.
but it'll work.
Oh, yeah.
See, it's like, but there's like that's a. No, I don't know how I'm going to comment, but
and then he was talking about like equality cuisine and how all of the best cuisines comes from countries where women are suppressed because they are in the kitchen in quotations.
They have to be in the kitchen.
right.
And it was just the way he was navigating this subject, and then he eventually landed he was making fun of Canadian cuisine, and I was like, this is hilarious to me. This is so funny, and it's also accurate, I think.
Yeah.
But I personally was not offended being a Canadian.
No. I think my favorite that does it in the game right now is Shane Gillis.
He's my favorite.
I think he's the
my
king.
favorite.
I love him.
Yeah, and I think because he does have an understanding that what's great about comedy is that there's somebody on the stage saying things they're not supposed to be saying. That's
the absurdity.
Yeah, like that's when it works. Comedy works because it shocks you.
Yeah.
Right? Directors like Jordan Peele will describe the difference between horror and comedy being a soundtrack, right? Like it's both mediums are there to cause a visceral reaction, is to do something, is to transgress, right? Is to understand the norms and break them, right? I think where I see the best comedians doing it are when they're not on the side of power. When they can understand that they're not coming at it poking fun as the bully, right? And that's not to say that that like taboo subjects, right? From like this purity culture perspective, that we can't talk about gender, we can't talk about race, but like it's understanding, traditionally there have been holes that particular people have only had access to, and it's like so how are we going to create art that everybody has access to in a way that they can laugh the same?
Like to touch on Shane, he was he was talking about visiting the George Washington Museum.
Yeah, so good.
While he was doing this bit, that was when people were ripping down statues and, you know, deleting history per se.
Yeah.
And I just like his take on it,
Yeah.
because he's like, yeah, you're right. But, you know, let's like, it still happened though.
Yeah.
So whether you delete it or not, it still happened. Let's learn from it.
Yeah.
And let's poke fun at it.
Yeah. It's a dilemma, right? It's like, because are you, again, right? It's context. Are we keeping them? Statues are a weird thing, right? The way I stand on statues is that people are always going to disappoint you, especially if you deify them, right? You make them a kind of god. So like, statues were always bound to fail.
It's that concept of you never want to meet your hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, memorializing, but this idea of having big military statues for people who fought for enslaving other people. It's you know,
that's the
touchy.
double-edged sword with George Washington. He
Right.
founded a democratic society,
right.
but at the same time had slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So
Crazy.
what do you do about that?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the dilemma of the time too, right? And not only did he have slaves, he fathered slaves.
Yes. And he had
He
like
made his own slaves.
So
Weird.
how the line works, right, is that slavery passed through maternally. Okay, so if you fathered like a child, it went through based on who your mother was. If your mother was considered a slave, then you were a slave. And why it was done that way, most historians put it, is that there is this thing that happened, that to get even darker, that slave owners would increase their property, right? Like that's something that happened. That's you know, they would assault these women and create new property. Is basically what.
to put it in an
happen.
unsavory term, but increase numbers.
Yeah.
But to not have the morality to be like, that is.
I took this course called Narratives of Empire.
Yeah.
Right. And stories. Stories are so. And this is why. It's not to say that we need to have a purity culture, but we do need to critically assess the stories we say and we tell. And what is the point of that story? Because I'm a true believer that as people, we're all just made up of little stories that we tell ourselves, good and evil, right? What that means, it's so contextually there. What it means to be good here in Canada can mean something completely different in another part of the world. Perspective, right? And so the stories they were telling themselves, right, were different than what we've decided now, and what is still, you know, in the U.S. a contested issue, right, about what it means to be a person, right? The Superman movie is a great one because it talks about the new one. It talks about this idea of being an alien. Superman's an alien, right? And for the longest time, he was viewed as the symbol of the American way, right? Truth, justice, and the American way. And you have Superman standing right in front of an American flag.
Yeah, American colors.
Yeah, and we agreed on that, right? Red, white, and blue. And we agreed on that. We're like, yes, bring us your poor, you know, bring us your broken, and let's work together. Yeah, whether the dream ever was that thing is up for debate, but it's certainly in the context now of who we're deciding who belongs here, who's an alien, who's not, right? And so that's the kind of talking that happened there. They had clearly defined who was human and who was not. Whether it's so profound, right? Because people like to throw around this idea that, we're just smarter now. We just know more. It's like, no, evolutionarily speaking, we've been the exact same species for the last 100,000 years. We have the same critical faculties. We were writing about the exact same things. That's what we talked about, right? And so they needed to sell themselves that what they're doing wasn't terrible. And the fact is that they knew it was terrible, right? The writers at the time knew what they were doing was a pure evil. We are not far away from knowing something is pure evil, right, and not being able to change that thing. We're not so advanced that we conduct pure evil, right, and call it good. It still happens. It still will happen.
Yeah. Humanity. It's messy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. But that's the game of it. It's that you have an opportunity every single step you take to make a positive change.
Mm-hmm.
True believer in that. My favorite poet is a man named Walt Whitman, and a big American poet. And he talks about this idea in his famous poem "Song of Myself," which is really interesting because it starts with it. You think it's going to be a personal poem. You think it's going to be all about him, right? But he starts with, "In what I assume, you shall assume. For every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you." So there's a scientific aspect there, right? So he's writing in, I think that one comes out around the same time as Shelley's writing,
Jeez.
1830s. And so we're starting to understand the physical world in a different way. Or no, I think he's later into the turn of the century. So we're starting to understand atomical structures, right? Have this word that we're not made up. We're made up of tiny bits of matter. But it goes beyond that because he says that what is more personal to a human than the things that we assume, the things we take for granted in our world? Isn't that the thing that's the most intimate to us? And what Whitman is saying is that we all share those things, actually. Those things that you think are the most intimate and personal and hidden away, your assumptions are actually not. We all assume the same thing. But to go on to the other point, he talks about how the power of the present moment. And I think that's a big thing we're talking about. The book, I think The Power of Now is a big self-help book. But he says that there was never more inception than there is now. There's never more. We've never created any new ideas. Inception is the creation of an idea. This is a line that was very important to me at a very hard point in my life. There is never more heaven nor hell than there is now. This idea that there's a material past, but in terms of material reality, we're constantly in the present. You can't hold on to the past, and you can't predict the future. Humans are bad at that. That's why there's a whole betting industry about it, But this idea of staying in the present, and there's a power in that. There's kind of an immortality, he describes it as, of being able to understand and being safe in this constant present. The ability that, your past has been a thing, but you constantly can make new decisions.
And change. Yeah. Hopefully feel good.
Hopefully.
What was that author post name?
Walt Whitman.
Walt
Whitman, yeah.
It's crazy how advanced they seem, and this was written so long ago, and how relatable it is now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I always love that term. I forget who coined this term, but it's like history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes.
Yeah. Well, we like to think of history as a line, right?
Yeah.
And you talk to people. So I had Chinese friends in school, and they say that the more Eastern perception of time is as a circle. Right? We like to think that there's a clear timeline. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, leading to this, almost like an equation, right? But she described it to me is that there's more of a cyclical reality, that the things that have happened will always continue to happen. I mean, we see this history, repeating itself, or rhymes, right? Right. It's I'm all for narratives that kind of break down how you see the world, trying to find things to constantly change yourself.
Yeah. And just like we're never not going to stop being humans.
No.
There's been war since humans have existed.
Yeah.
In some capacity.
Yeah.
It's just never stopped.
Yeah.
But then also beautiful things.
Yeah.
Cooperation and art.
It's the dichotomy, right? Or it's the paradox of humanity. It's like, what is knowing beauty without pain, without ugliness?
Yeah. Would there be happiness without sadness?
Right.
Can you enjoy a sunny day if it never rains?
To go even more into the theoretical spaces thing, I'm just name dropping theorists. There's this French theorist called Derrida, and he has this theory of Jacques Derrida, and he has this theory of deconstructionism. And it's basically this idea that to find meaning, it's what all these guys are trying to do is in gals. We're trying to say, like, okay, how are we going to get meaning from this piece of art? Where do we find the meaning? And his whole thing was that the kind of Western worldview is all based on opposites. It's all based on what he describes as binaries, right? Good and evil, beautiful, ugly. That how we understand the world is always based on an opposite of it. And he said that to try to find the true meaning of things, we need to deconstruct the binary. We need to break it apart. We figure out, why are we comparing? Why can't we just describe a thing substantively as itself? Again, another guy just trying to understand his world.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to wrap his head around it.
Yeah.
Pre-internet.
Right.
You can't just ask ChatGPT about it.
No.
That's good. Did you ever think about like going into, I guess English dabbles in philosophy, like it dabbles in every subject, but philosophy?
I think I've always been a philosophical thinker, because of coming from a religious background.
Okay.
So my grandfather was a Baptist minister in the same church in Hartford. So it's out near the reservation, near Hagersville, out that way.
Okay.
Same church for 50 years. He preached at. He came to Norfolk County 50 years ago from that, and then preached at the same church. So I grew up going to church every single Sunday, being there. And it wasn't like the Catholic education where, it's super fire and brimstone, right? Where it's like like the Irish Catholic. I'm reading a lot of. I'm going to Ireland next month, so I'm reading up on a lot of James Joyce, and he talks about the more Irish Catholic upbringing of the kind of fear tactics.
This is the way it is because.
Yeah. But I guess I was always kind of a thinker. That was like, I found myself disturbed by the size of the universe, trying to find some theory of everything in my head that would be able to summarize it. And especially when I'm talking about it going in a religious context, literally believing, that these things were happening, these forces were happening in my life, that this was the world, this was reality, right? This was history. Not to say it's not, but the more literal application, So I think it definitely started there. I've always been someone who's asked the question why. But going into philosophy itself, it's kind of a practical thing. I would have loved to stay in academia. I love researching and I love studying, and I felt that was where I kind of hit my stride. But there's some practical applications there too, right? There's not a lot of money in academia these days, especially the administrations we're going towards, where there's not a lot of money to go around in general. There's definitely not a lot of money to be putting into the humanities, unfortunately. But I felt that the better place that I could kind of share my passions is the classroom, is teaching. So it's interesting to me, and I dabble in my own time, but I think that from a professional standpoint, I think I'm making the most positive for the most economical being a high school teacher.
Yeah,
definitely.
How are you? Just to shift gears a little bit, but like, how are you navigating all of this crazy shit we just covered with this next generation? Like, I'm sure the whole AI thing is a huge issue as a teacher now. We were talking about that a little bit before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How do you go about your teaching style?
Well, I think I'm learning. Again, I've used this phrase again, this flashpoint, right? Where a lot of people are just trying to figure it out. How are we going to do this? So what's interesting is a lot of English departments are moving towards a more pen and paper model for submissions. We're moving away from technology.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Just in terms of, because especially in a public education system, right? Where we are mandated that every child deserves an education and is entitled to an education, has the right to one, right? Something I vehemently agree with. But there's so many eyes on you as a public educator, and it becomes a very difficult process to accuse someone of plagiarism, right? Like it's something that it's not a fun thing to do, and people don't want to hear those hard truths, right? That they want to hear that their child is doing exceptional and doing all the things, and so AI is something that's murky in proving that you've plagiarized. I can tell, you can tell when there's a kind of lifeless quality to a piece of writing. You look for the mistakes. If there's mistakes in it, then it's generally produced by a human. but it's a really tough issue that that I'm really trying to figure out. My approach tends to gravitate towards integration. It's not going away. So how can we find ways to use it responsibly? How can we make it not a taboo subject? Because that's going to get us nowhere. In making it useful. One of the things that I will be doing in September is sharing them the research. One of our first assignments will be looking through that research document I was talking about the cognitive effects, getting them to be participatory in the potential consequences, right? We're asking you to do these tasks so you can learn how to critically engage with things.
Yeah, so you don't become complacent.
Yeah. Which is also a problem, right? Which is, I think, is the problem of why. And it's one I'm asking myself of why are we learning these things if these machines can replace those things? And it is a big question, right? So companies are in that spot already where Microsoft just laid off like 15,000 people company-wide for AI replacements already. Yeah. And the problem there is, okay, well, maybe that frees us up to be doing things that we have more interest in. And it gives us that freedom to be participating in tasks to a higher degree than what we actually do creatively. The problem is that a lot of those first grunt work jobs, actually going through the research, answering those questions that are painstaking, the English degree ones where you have to do so much reading, so much writing, are there to prepare you to critically engage with stuff at a higher level. And so, it bears into question the whole system. Is the whole system doomed to fail? Is it all going to be at a part? But so I don't believe that. I think that there is still a place for us, and it's finding ways to learn that with the student. I think the best teachers are ones that are constantly learning with the people in front of them. Mm-hmm. And that's the challenge, and especially me as a young teacher into the game for just like 2 years now. It's kind of learning that with the students, mm-hmm. right? And because they have ideas and they want to share them. I think it's a trust problem. You want to trust them, right? That they're going to be participating honestly, but they also want to trust that their ideas are going to be received, right? Like that they have a space to share what they want to.
Mm. How do you navigate? Let's say, for example, you have a student and they want to be a programmer. Mm. Mac, I want to be a programmer. What do you think about that? Should I go work for Microsoft?
Well, I say, what are you doing asking me this question? I'm an English teacher. Math, how do you spell that? No, I don't know. Like, it's not that programming, and that is definitely not my bag. But I think that again, it's a tool, right? So I would recommend, how do we approach it as not a replacement, but a tool to heighten what we're doing.
Yeah.
How does that work?
No, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great answer. Now, are the school boards and things like that, departments, are they integrating?
Things move slow.
Yeah.
But it depends by department, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really up to what, like, my experience has been that I have a lot of freedom to try things. But it depends what a department is comfortable with. There's documents, and we're moving that direction, and there's lots of people doing research on it. But it does feel pioneer stage, where we're having to kind of figure out the best applications of it, how to integrate. It's very Wild West, very much.
I think when I was at school, we were, what was it, like kid picks, and there's
hell yeah,
yeah, like you'd have basic laboratory
kid
class,
picks,
but it wasn't anything
picks.
Advanced.
No,
there was smart boards kind of coming in as I was leaving, and then when my brother was, I think, just leaving high school, like tablets were being introduced, and so each student had a tablet, and I'm like, well, what's on the, like, what do they have access to? Now, it went from computer lab time to having a computer in your hand at all times. And now, like, I don't know, is it a thing where are students allowed to have phones in class, or is that a thing now where they have to keep it locked away?
Well, okay. This past year, there was a law that came into place that cell phones are banned in schools.
Oh, nice.
You can't even bring them.
No. Well, that's the mandate, at least. It was this big one, which is cell phones and vapes. was the big one from Letchier this past the Minister of Education in Ontario. So we did the whole cell phone jails and stuff like that, and it was great. But the problem is, as I see it too, is that because so much of the curriculum demands digital participation, but there's tech in there, but a lot of times, especially bigger schools, especially less city schools, we don't have the tech access. So it's like sometimes, especially from an equity issue, it's like that child's only access to a computer might be their cell phone. So it's like, how do we play that, right? Yeah. Where to participate with this assignment, we don't have enough tablets in the room. We don't have enough computers in the room, right? We don't have enough. So it's a very it's a way to start addressing the problem, right? Of lack of engagement, but it's not the total solution. I believe in a model. I follow the directives, of course, but that I believe in a model that how I try to structure the day is we're together in the beginning. We have about 15 minutes, 20 minutes of time where I'm talking to you about the content you need to know. And then it moves into a project-based thing where you don't have the potential to be distracted from the things I need you to know. Right. And then, it becomes like how I work, right? Like I'm sitting at home, I'm writing something out, I'm developing a lesson. I have my phone there. I look at it, a text, every couple of seconds. I don't necessarily see that as being a huge detractor. Like I think that this model of we're trying to move away from this kind of factory model of education where everybody's desks in rows and it's very institutionalized, right? We want it to be more free flowing. So again, right, it's integration. It's like, how do we do this in a responsible way and get everybody on board?
I think my issue with like the system growing up in it was it's sort of prepared you for a 9-to-5 job. Yeah. And I don't do a 9-to-5 job.
Nope.
And so I didn't learn anything about, there were some courses, but like nothing about entrepreneurship or business or how to buy a house or how to open a bank account or like any basic life skills.
They call it the secret curriculum. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's this idea that, you go to school to learn the subjects, but you also go to school to learn how to be trained by a bell.
Yes.
Right? You learn how to follow instruction by a manager.
Yeah. You have to ask to go to the washroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's a clear power dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's enforced. And that's actually what you're supposed to be learning in this institution. And I think that, I know we are moving away from that, right? Like my work I do is alternative education. So, what I just got hired on for, where it's very not loosey goosey, but it's open, it's how can we develop a space for when inevitably that kind of model, that kind of factory model, factory farming of education doesn't work, and it's not going to work, right? What happens when those kids are left out, right? And I have a lot of freedom, thankfully, to be able to engage kids. And in this past spring, I was working in alternative education, doing something called an LTO, which is where you're an occasional teacher and you're in a placement for. So it's not your own class; it's somebody else's that you're just kind of supplying for long term. And I was able to work with a bunch of kids and get kids who might not have been able to graduate. Got them out of the door, got them graduated.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really rewarding work. But you do that not by enforcing strict disciplinarian rules, but by working with people where they're at, figuring out where they want to take this thing.
Where their interests, what are they good at?
Yeah, definitely.
I could have benefited from that a lot, I feel like.
And it's not always easy to do, especially with class sizes increasing and resources dwindling. It's not the easiest thing in the world to create individualized education for everybody. Mm-hmm. But it's working towards doing that. Maybe that's AI, right? Like maybe that becomes a spot where we can integrate that in a way that teachers can spend more time. So for instance, like this idea of a lot of course design. Course design is something like organizing course design is something that AI is really helpful with, right?
Like
It's
the
a great
curriculum and how
yeah,
to, yeah.
yeah, it's a great organizational tool. And so being able to take away that time so the teacher can spend more time, that's something that's lovely. That's a lovely application. How can we get rid of the manual kind of work? Now, this is the danger, right? Is because if we say that and that time is freed up, then potentially class sizes increase even more. So it's like, oh, you don't have to do these tasks because the computer can do these tasks. That means we can pack in like 50 kids in your class.
They're going to fill the void.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that one is not a good idea.
Generally not. If we want to go for independent learning, no.
What's the average class size?
Into the 30s generally,
Okay,
depending what. Generally around 30. I think caps are at like 35,
Yeah.
something around there.
And everybody's different. Everybody has a different learning style, different
Yeah.
interests, different attention spans.
Yeah.
I did not have a big one.
Yeah. No, me neither.
Ah.
Me neither.
Before we wrap it up, I did want to shift into a little bit of your theater background.
Sure. Yeah.
Because, like, how can we not? That was my first sort of meeting. Well, we didn't meet, but I saw you perform.
Yeah.
And then I realized afterwards who you were. But I want to talk about, so you've started up in theater as a kid, very young age. You were saying you weren't really into sports?
No. I mean, it's like my dad was a teacher, right?
Okay,
and my mom stayed at home for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
And then got back into the workforce. So, those sports are kind of expensive, especially hockey and ones like that. So there was that, but I also just never was super interested. I've always been very nerdy. And so started doing things like Waterford Old Town Hall's Tunnel Kids. Brilliant program where it was an after school thing and we put on productions as kids and fell in love with it. Always been around the theater world. My brother Josh did some professional acting as a kid in Stratford, so I was all around like the professional world of things. And then in high school I was always involved in the theater productions there. And it's really kind of my therapy space, I think. Is acting out. And I'm a big believer that you're really, ironically, never more yourself than when you're on stage.
Oh, really?
Let me unpack that, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Shakespeare wrote that all the world is a stage, okay? Meaning that this idea that this whole thing I was talking about, this idea that we have stories that make us up, right? We're all kind of acting out roles when we go into the world.
It's the concept of the faces. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
You there's you around strangers. There's you around your friends. There's you around your family.
Yeah.
And then there's you around you.
Yes.
And that is the true you.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes, but maybe also not.
Maybe not.
I think maybe even in those times we play personas of who we want ourselves to be.
Who you want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but like sometimes I'll do that. Like I'll watch a movie or like I'll get really into a show. Like I'm like obsessively into The Sopranos.
Oh, okay.
I've seen it like 18 times and I can notice myself like saying gabagool more and stuff like that after I'm going through like a Sopranos reel. You know what I mean? Like, like watching like,
forget about it.
Yeah. Like watching like Peaky Blinders or something, or just like, and have it walking a little differently, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but like, everybody's putting on roles, but I think on the stage is when you admit it. Is when you actually are understanding if you're doing it well. I think what makes, not to be like, oh, I'm the best actor in the world, but like to say that to put on a performance, you need to go to an honest place because you're being performative. You understand. That's why theater is so cool. Is because you recognize that you're being someone different in front of this group of people. But in order to kind of bring it well, you need to bring in your actual experiences. Right?
You need to pull it from somewhere.
Yeah. You need to pull it from somewhere. You need to go to an honest place.
Yeah. Where are your emotions coming from that you're portraying? I would assume you're pulling it from, like, if you need to be sad.
Yeah.
Like, I assume you are pulling that sadness from somewhere real in your life.
I think people, like a lot of people do it differently. There's like the method actor approach, right, where you like become that person, the kind of Christian Bale approach. But like I think that when I do it, I look at a role and I contextually make it make sense. This is actually happening to this person, right? This person is gaining something. They've just won, right? They've lost big, right? So you go to those kind of archetypal emotions you feel. Feeling about loss. What did that feel like? You know, how can you remember your face kind of transforming in those times? Definitely drawing on those memories for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for some emotional context.
Yeah. Emotional fuel.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, you still need to be that character,
Right.
in that moment.
Right.
But,
But it is you experiencing those things.
yeah.
That's what's so cool about why I think drama is so distinct from any form of art, is because there's this weird thing that happens, right? Where you have an audience that comes in, and the audience actually participates in the drama, right? What's so cool about being an audience member in a theater production is like things could go wrong. You know, they could go off script. They could forget the lines. The whole thing could mess up. And so there's this kind of like anticipation of, will they do everything right? You're there in the show
or will
too.
you even notice?
Yeah. The other thing is that it's very it's oratory. It's in the moment, right? That's what I love about theater. You can't record it, you know? Even the recordings you see of shows, they never quite do it, right? Is because there's something about knowing that this thing will never happen again. This utterance, this showing will never happen again. It's finite. It's a particular moment. This acting actually occurs. You know, the things that are happening to these actors actually occurs. You know, it has import.
And no show's alike. They're all
No.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might
Yeah.
hit every line, but it's a little bit different.
Oh,
You're in a
yeah.
different spot, you know.
Oh, and it's a relationship you build with the audience.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It's like it's you when you have a good audience, there's no high like it. You know, and you know you're killing it. Same with like you talk to like stand-up comedians, same thing.
Yeah, they have to pause for the audience sometimes
Yeah.
to deliver the next line.
Yeah.
It's interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's almost like a boxing match almost, right? It's like you know when you've killed it, and you know when the best ones know when to deliver it right in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you what do you like more? Do you like sort of finding the character in rehearsals, or do you really lean into the live performances? Do you have a preference?
So it's going to change, right? Like just knowing that you have an audience in front of you is going to change everything. I don't think you can quite get there for what the role is going to be in rehearsal. I think you can. I think that you're rehearsing it, right? You're knowing where you're supposed to step. You know where you're supposed to be pausing or whatever during it, but you don't know what that character is going to become until you have people watching it, right? Until it's participating into this relationship.
So is the first show? Is it very nervous?
Oh yeah, I get so nervous. Yeah, and I don't know if I show it as much. I do a lot of pacing, and then I very much like to be in the game. Like I have like some pre-game kind of like I'll be listening to like Kendrick or something like that a little bit before, and then I when I'm in it, I like to be very focused. You know, people will like, especially with community theater, when you're not getting paid, it's there for, this is our fun time, right? It's like, people like to have fun before, but especially for like a big role, I'm trying to just focus on the job I got to do. And there is this, especially, cause I've done lots of like theater at Simcoe Little Theater, which is a little theater. It's like 100 people. The most shocking, you know, high experience I had was moving that over. And I recently, when I started doing shows at Lighthouse, their community productions, and we did the producers, and it's the opening nights at Lighthouse are always special. One, because like these are the people who you know are going to be there for you. Like these are the people coming to see you. So it's another vibe as well. You don't have to win them over as much, like you would for something else. But it's like a wall of sound. It's this old vaudevillian theater, right? And there's 2 levels, and there's about 350 when it's packed, and it's this explosion of sound, and it can be intimidating. It is intimidating, but definitely jitters. But it definitely like, it's almost like I can remember the opening night for producers. I don't remember the show at all. Like I remember snippets, but you go into this like trance where you're not yourself anymore. You're doing the Nike Just Do It, and you've rehearsed, you know it's in your memory, and because as soon as the enemy of performance is self-reflection, like that's why Nike is Just Do It, right? Why it's all muscle memory. Yeah. At that point, it should be, there's decisions you make in like a boxer, you know, knowing where to hit when, but really it should be kind of left up to your body to do this thing.
Yeah,
this rehearse for
this intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what the rehearsing's for, so you can be in that space.
Exactly.
Yeah, on the day.
Exactly. exactly. And we all do that, right? It's like we all prepare for, maybe not all, but I think a lot of us do prepare for roles that we have to do, that we have to go into the world and do. And in those times that maybe there's those personalities that don't like to do this, that do like to be very on the spot. But I'm definitely one of those people who do, and that's why I fit in as a teacher. I like to have a plan set in mind, and the best plan set in mind is when you can make it look like you didn't really have a plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the whole, like, when I met Jesse, it was just, he's such a planner, and that's why what he does is so good. He's just executing on the day. Everything, all the work is before.
Yeah.
All the work is before.
Yeah.
And then on the day, it's execution.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the most fun thing about it, right? You're experiencing this theater the same way that the audience is experiencing it too. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially working with other people.
Have you had any mishaps, I would assume?
Like you have. I thankfully have never had a time that I can remember that I've completely fell flat in terms of acting. Now there's definitely been shows I haven't been as happy about, for sure, but there hasn't been a time where I felt like, okay, I totally screwed that thing. That was on me. There's definitely missed lines or jumped lines and stuff like that, for sure. But I think that I've been pretty good throughout the shows I've done to be able to be adaptable on my feet. Back in high school, there's this one time where I did this show, Catch Me If You Can. So it's like the Tom Hanks Leo DiCaprio movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, really, really fun. And so there's this sequence where he is explaining how he like forges the checks, and he goes to the banker there, and he woos her with like a necklace and that. What's supposed to happen is that there's supposed to be 4 other people, and this is about like a 10-minute sequence, and they all have lines. And there's this one person that's supposed to come out the booth, and they all have like lines back and forth they're supposed to say. This person never goes, and the problem is that it's on tracks, which means that once you start that music track, in order to keep with the songs in that, there's no stopping it. There's no going back. You're on this train, right? And so this person never comes out. I'm like, oh shit. What are we gonna do? Thankfully, I don't know. It's like adrenaline's a funny thing. Somewhere in here the lines were there. So what I did was I went to this banker, and then what they should have said was this, and then I said, and so that happens. And then there's 3 other people that are supposed to come out for this kind of like TV ad sequence where they all have different products they're showing off, and because this person missed their cue, they don't realize they're supposed to go out. So these 3 people missed their cue. And I did somewhere the lines were there. Their line. I don't know how I remembered their lines, but that was definitely a moment where it could have just went flat. But you got to be on your feet. I think that's why I'm good in the classroom. All those things is that, the punches are going to come. How are you going to roll with them? Yeah. And that's what I love about theater too. The kind of highs from that too. It's a thrilling experience.
Oh my God, I could imagine. I would be terrified.
Yeah.
I love that whole medium and stuff, but I like more of let's say like Hannah's role.
Yeah.
As opposed to being on the stage. Although she acts as well.
She acts too, but
yeah. It definitely helps.
Yeah. And I'd be curious because that's a whole level of anxiety too, because at least as an actor perspective, like you're just responsible for your thing. And if you mess it up, other people are going to be there to kind of fill it in. Hannah's being a director role, like that's your baby. If that falls apart, that's there's one person the buck stops with, and it's the director. Yeah.
She's looking at it in its entirety.
Yeah.
And that's your baby. It's like it's just like a lot of directors and things like that when they see every step of the process. They're from pre to post to delivery to they see everything.
Yeah.
And it's but when you have skillful actors like yourself who are able to fill in like that, it's I'm sure it's a sort of like, oh, okay, thank God.
You definitely, it's like
because there's nothing she can do, right?
No. You gotta really have a lot of trust in those people you got. And what's thankful is that we're in a community that there is insanely talented people that do it on the community level. Like the productions that happen at SLT happen at Lighthouse. They're we get the comment at Lighthouse all the time. These are like professional level productions. And
well, in your bio you had amateur actor. I was like, you're no amateur, my friend.
If I get paid, I'll go not amateur, but amateur.
Well, professional quality for sure.
Thank you. It's very kind. It's very kind. It's my therapy time, right? It's where I can get out, all of these things that I experience and put them into something, and get this kind of this anxious, happy energy, and find it a way to, and that's what I mean too, right? Where it's like you're never more yourself, because you have to tap into yourself. You have to be really honest with how you feel in order to portray that honestly.
It's just a terrifying thought of me just putting yourself out there like that, just on stage.
Yeah, and I guess that's my personality, is that I've never had a problem with sharing myself, and I think that's what I take for granted a lot, is that I don't understand that I don't think everybody has that same, privilege, I guess, or propensity.
Before I put out every episode, even now, I'm still nervous before every episode. I hope it's good.
Yeah. I guess that's just my, you need a little narcissism, I guess, as a community actor. But I've always been fine with being a little different.
Yeah.
The people around me having to play hockey, I'm fine with being obsessed with Saturday morning cartoons and whatever. I
love that. I love I'm very drawn to the outskirts, the weirdos, because I am one of them.
Me too.
I have a very eclectic taste as far as life goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I've always lived, for sure. And I think theater is that part where you really, those oddballs get to shine. And
100%. Yeah. One of my favorite people, he's my best friend. He's the craziest person I've ever met, but he's just so out there, and he's comes from a theater background. He played Donkey in Shrek in high school.
Oh yeah,
and, But he's not afraid. He went out and he was one of the gold ball heads for the Lotto promotions, and he just tries stuff.
Yeah,
he just wants to try it.
Yeah,
and he doesn't really care what people think.
No,
and I envy that a lot.
Yeah, and it's like, I think you care what people think. But I think it's this spot that actors have where they're not going to take it as a personal offense about themselves. They care about how they're portrayed, and I definitely care about how people see me. But I'm not afraid for it to be me. If they got a criticism that's about me, it's I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you can't stop being you.
No.
And what's the point of being somebody else?
Yeah.
You're going to be you. You're going to be the best at being you.
Yeah.
So might as well just be you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Words of wisdom.
I was like, yeah.
I am not a writer, so although I enjoy it, my grammar's terrible, and I was not good at English. But I love.
We didn't have grammar school, man. We didn't have 19th century grammar school. We're just doing the best we can.
Yeah. But I read. Yeah. I read scripts. I read novels. Yeah. I love documentaries, obviously cinema and all that stuff.
What are you reading right now?
Dune at the moment.
Yeah.
And a mix of that business book you see there and a cocktail book. But
yeah.
I sort of fluctuate between. I'll read fictional and a non-fictional sort of at the same time.
That's the best way to do it.
And I'll flip between them.
Yeah.
Fictional is at night.
Yeah.
If I want to read in the morning with a coffee, I'll read something, business related or I don't know, podcast related, marketing.
Yeah, I think you should. I think that's the right balance, is having something fiction, something in the realm of creativity, but also having a book where you're trying to actually understand the world.
Yeah.
Around.
I should. My cousin is how do I word this? He can read the entire Harry Potter series in a week.
Yeah,
he's insane.
Yeah,
and he gave me this box of books. I'm curious if I'll show them. After.
Okay,
but he's like, oh, have you read them? Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm still reading Dune. I read I try to aim for a book a month.
Yeah,
finish a fictional book a month, and I guess maybe 2 months. But
life gets busy.
Sports and life and family.
And our brains aren't wired these days to put that kind of level of focus on a book.
Which is why I want to maintain it.
It's being disciplined.
Yeah.
It's a disciplined practice for sure. Sitting down and reading something long form.
Yeah, and I've been trying to do it. It's sort of I'm replacing the endless scrolling at night with a book.
The doom scrolling.
And you sleep better.
Yeah.
And your mind's
not supposed to see that blue light.
Your mind's whirling. I'm like, oh, that chapter last night was good. I'm like, oh, maybe I can make a little short film related to this, or I don't know. It just gets you going a little bit.
Yeah.
So your creative mind going.
100%.
In your bio, you were saying how sort of Norfolk County is a haven for creative voices and minds.
Yeah.
Is there anything in Norfolk culturally you would want to enhance or change?
I think you got to be careful when you approach things with how am I going to change this thing, right? Like going into, it's just the life, right? So you use it as the metaphors, but like going into the classroom and thinking my job is to change these people, right? Is not the best attitude. And it comes from a good place, right? Like there's so much I love about this community, but it is rural. You know, there is things that happen with not critically thinking through a lot of issues, right? Racism is a huge problem, right? Like issues related to homophobia, and it's not getting better, you know? So, but I think that what I have the responsibility of being is hopefully a leader. Right. And so I think that the best thing I can do in this space is it's my responsibility now to keep these spaces that meant a lot to me alive for somebody else, that they'll mean that to somebody else. Right. Little Shop was this really interesting time where Hannah, myself, so many people part of the cast and production, they were all people around kind of my age cohort. We were all people who grew up in this theater space as someone who were little kids in productions at SLT. And it was this point where it was kind of our thing. Like it was our generation's take on something. And so what I guess I would say or encourage people is never be afraid to follow through those passions, right? And do so in a way that that you're getting something out of it, but always considering how somebody else might get something out of it too, right? And I think that's what's so cool about Norfolk is that it is a county in an area that is steeped in agricultural history. It is a backbone of industry for its time. And it's in this transitory place where people are trying to figure out what their place is in it, right? Like the farms are changing, right? This what makes up this community is changing, and I think a lot of people like come to this space, right? Like you yourself, you came from more of like a city place, and you come to this because it is this fantastic haven, for
I fell in love with community.
Yeah,
that was my number one draw here.
Yeah,
was the community and the people in it.
Yeah,
and then afterwards it was also it's a beautiful place.
Yeah,
but it was really the people.
It's the people, right? And it's genuine people trying to. I think the thing that was when I describe as this haven for artistic opportunity is that doesn't just happen, right? Like it's people who curate that.
Yeah.
It's people who made those opportunities happen.
That's sort of where I wanted to go with it, because like it must be a struggle living in a rural area to be a creative, because there aren't the city per se. There's an industry there. There's a theater industry. There's a film industry. There's a music industry, and sort of all the outlets there and the resources are right there. You don't have to go very far. Right.
There's also, that's huge, right? The resources are not here for that. Yeah. You're not going to be able to collaborate in the same way that you would be able to collaborate in the GTA. However, you also have a unique opportunity that your voice is unique, right? Like that you might be the only person doing your thing in this small town, and
with that perspective.
Yeah. One of my favorite authors, I don't know if I had it on the list, but William Faulkner, and he was a foundational American writer, and he talked about this fictional county that he created in his mind called Yuknapataufa County.
Okay, yeah. I don't know how you retain all of this. It's very impressive.
My girlfriend's like, "When's our anniversary?" And I'm like, Yuknapataufa County? No. There's certain dates that I know our anniversary. I love you, Dylan. But Faulkner was fascinating because he looked at his most famous book is one called As I Lay Dying. And that actually comes a line from the Odyssey, where Odysseus is traveling through hell and meets Agamemnon. And Agamemnon tells him about being cursed down to hell. And the line is, as I lay dying. And the whole thing is relating these massive mythical narratives to this small town community. These are hillbillies. Basically, it's this community. Their mother dies, and they've been in, and she hates them all because they're so self-interested. So she's like, "I'm going to send you to Jefferson." It's in August in the South, American South, and they have to travel a 4-day horse ride with her body rotting in this cart. And Faulkner relates it on this mythical scale, right? And because he picks up on something, he says that it's not just the movements of the city that need to be studied and are important. It's the rural voices are generally backbones of community. So and these are voices, they might be, some people describe as backwards, and even in this, how is approaching the topic, but it's coming at it with a gracious point of reverence that these are voices that need to be heard too. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Anything you want to touch on before we tap?
No,
anything?
I've loved this.
You're an untapped, like a well of knowledge here, and your recall is very impressive as far as quotes and authors go. So
I think to wrap up, maybe the what I would like to encourage people to do my own age is to be willing to be uncomfortable with your ideas, right? Like, we're in this state now where I think it's better that we get to know each other more than being insulated from each other.
that wasn't. You also had that in your bio at the very end. I don't want to paraphrase it, but something about the best way to understand the world is to understand the voices in it.
Yeah.
And especially those that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, sort of unsavory opinions sometimes.
Yeah. Well, in like, because that's the only world we have, right? And everybody wants to be heard. So it's getting at this place where, and I think that I hope I can encourage people, and I think this is what I try to do in my own practice as an educator, is try to get away from your voice being the most important one in the room. What can you learn from others?
Even those you disagree with, because you still have to live with them. So you might as well understand.
That's the big problem, right?
Is
that we have to live with each other. So let's find ways to do it.
Yeah, I am very good friends with other people with very opposite thinking.
Yeah.
And we coexist together. And we make it work, and we find common ground. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because I think that really what binds us as people is that there's systems in place that want us to think that we're a lot more different than we actually are. Mm-hmm. And I think for the the vast majority of people, the things that keep us up at night are very well the same. So it's finding ways to bridge that human gap.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Mac, for coming on. Appreciate you sharing all your knowledge.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
And until next time.
Hey you, you're listening to Just Drew, Just Drew, Just Drew.